Hello everyone, welcome to a Tactics video. This time reviewing the new mission pack, Pariah Nexus, for 10th edition of 40k. So we're about 12 months into 40k now of 10th edition, and here we are, some brand new missions, secondaries, rules, and a whole type of different things. So over the next, hopefully an hour, let's see if we can squeeze it in, I'm going to basically go through all the stuff that's changed. I've listed everything out on spreadsheets. I've got all the documents in front of me. Hopefully make it quite clear as to what exactly has changed. I found this exercise quite useful for myself and hopefully useful for you as well. And of course, I'll give an overlay how it potentially impacts Astra Militarum. Now, before I go forward, one thing to state is at this moment in time, being Sunday of June the 9th, we don't yet also have the new balance data set or new point changes, which they've said will get alongside these new rules. So firstly, if you do want to get more information, you can check out this article here on Warhammer community website. And there's also in any of you one of the rule masters or rule chaps as well. So let's get into the actual document itself. Now, praise be the Omnisci, the internet is an amazing place. And somebody has kindly uploaded a PDF version of the mission pack, and I've actually put the link to this in the description below. So check it out before it disappears. So firstly, if you're new to all this, the main thing to remember is that fundamentally the game hasn't changed. Lots of details have changed, but how you play the game hasn't changed too much. Now, there's a lot to digest here, but I've picked up the main ones, and this is a little fold-out thing you get. So this is the old fold-out. It's actually quite nice to sort of go through it when you're playing games, just getting back into things, to sort of read the sequence of the battle. But going through the key ones which have changed, firstly, when it comes to deployments, Titanic models, deploy armies, Titanic models, they count as 2. So usually when you deploy, you go one unit, the opponent goes 1 unit, you go backwards and forwards. So if you deploy a Titanic unit, that counts as 2 deployments. Now that is going to obviously help Knight players loads, and also potentially Astra Militarum. If you are going to put a Baneblade family miniature on the tabletop, that counts as 2. So it does obviously help particularly Knight players who often have only a few drops, and your opponent has seen, or their opponent has seen, where everything is placed, all the firepower, then they can place their firepower with that knowledge. It does obviously help a bit in that sense. Another good thing is also secret missions have been completely removed. They're now, gambits have been removed, now called secret missions, coming to that a bit later. And there's 2 interesting ones as well. Now, firstly, the new ordered stratagem. This allows you once per game in the old rules to basically change the secondary card you draw. So if you get a really bad card at the end of command phase, you can spend a CP and you can basically draw a new one. And the key thing is that old one is discarded. Now in the new edition, basically you can do this as many times as you want. So it costs you a command point, but you could do this potentially 5 times. If you get dud cards over and over again, you can basically bin them off. And there are some changes further, we'll look in a moment, that actually will reduce the chances of that happening, which is quite good. Now the other key thing to call out here is actions are back. Now they kind of were already here, which was a bit weird. They removed them, now brought them back, and it had things like if an eligible unit can shoot, they can basically do a certain thing and score victory points, like cleanse, deploy homers, or investigate signals, for example. And it just said eligible to shoot. So people were doing some weird stuff with pistols and also assault weapons. But now they've made it very clear what actions are. Now, this is all very reminiscent to what it was in 9th edition, to be very clear. A unit cannot perform an action if it is an aircraft, its battle shot, has an OC characteristics of 0, is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, unless it's a Titanic character. So that's going to be things like Bellicor, Mortarion, or maybe one of the character Massive Knight models. It has advanced or fallen back, and it's not eligible to shoot this phase, including units that have already been selected to shoot this phase. So you basically can't shoot. Now this is basically what it was before, except if you had assault weapons, you could basically do it. But I think the only Astra Militarum units which have assault weapons is it Gaunt's Ghosts, I believe, have assault weapons, so they could potentially do actions in the old but not anymore. And probably the key one, which is a bit of a bummer, is the OC characteristic unit with a value of 0 is a cyclist demolition vehicle that it potentially now can't actually partake in the game. However, the key thing here is it doesn't say anything about the starting value But you could basically have Lord Solar, give it an order, duty and honor, it's got OC value of 1, therefore it can perform an action. Now, would you be spending a Lord Solar order on a Cyclist Demolition Vehicle to do this? Don't know. But there still potentially is play for the 25-point mini model. Of course, it can do back deployment zone screening, etc., etc. But maybe it's less versatility compared to what it was before, where it definitely had a lot of merit to bring in if it spare 25 points as a little action monkey to drive around. Okay, so they are probably the key ones. And if I've skipped anything or missed anything important, you know more than I do, please let me know in the comments. So key changes are Titanic units, basically they count as deploying as 2. Gambits are gone, they're now called secret missions. There's a very clear definition of what an action you have to basically editable to do. And I think that's basically it. Oh, and the new order one as well, so basically you can burn objectives, secondaries over and over again if they suck. Okay, now let's then get on to the next, which is deployment. So I've helped us, and you know how much I love spreadsheets, if I've watched this before, I've basically put down some spreadsheets helping me navigate this because there's a lot going on. And it's quite late for me on a Sunday night, having done home renovations all day, so hopefully my brain can keep sharp as we go through this. So spreadsheet, which basically tells you what's changed, and then obviously the actual illustration on the right. Now, deployment zones, a first bit of housekeeping, which they state in the video, is they've made it easier to set these up. So finally, I mean, the way they were written in the previous cards and even in prior editions, you had to have like basically an engineering degree, and when you're at a tournament, your brain's just cooked. You're trying to do mathematics, trying to cut the only work it is. So you can see it's a lot easier now. 10 inches from the edge of the board. And I believe this is no change. I think it was an 18-inch deployment zone. So fundamentally, hammer and anvil hasn't changed. Search and destroy hasn't changed. And again, you can see they've very kindly put the measure 10 from here, measure 14 from there, versus what was it before. We had to do some complex math in the center of line of the board. So glad that's gone. Crucible of battle has not changed. Now, a Dawn of War. Yeah, the only difference here is it's gone from a 10-inch deployment zone like that to 12-inch, an extra 2 inches, and every inch counts. Is a good old joke. And for chargey armies, that means you've got less distance to cover now. So that only means it's 20 inches separating us. Previously, it was 24. Is that right? If my math has got me right, yeah. So actually, the actual no man's land is smaller, which means turn 1 charges are more. There's more opportunity for that. Okay, sweeping engagement. So what did I say? There's a DZ change. Okay, so jumping ahead, apologies. Now, tipping point is a new deployment zone, and you can see it's a bit of a brain screw. Now, in the video you can listen to, one of the rule chaps spoke about trying to make deployment zones easier to set up. Now, I don't know if this is easier to set up, but I think it interfaces with how they have the official terrain suggestions, but this is not easy to set up at all, in my opinion. You've got to basically get your little deployment dice and put them on, go up like that, and then go like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's not exactly easier, but this also looks like it's going to be closer together, yeah, because if that's 20-inch deployment zone, 20-inch, the board is 60, means that there's 20 inches. Now, is that less or more than other ones? I don't know, but I don't know how I feel about this one. It's almost like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. How would you play this for guard? I mean, do you put your artillery? I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue how to play this. Depends, of course, what your opponent does, and that's the beauty of having Lord Solar's redeploy, is that's still very helpful, albeit you do it before you know who goes first. So this is new, completely new. I don't know what to make of this, to be honest. It's got the same objective layout, like, on the diagonal like that, as is it yeah, Crucible of Battle. Okay, so it's got the same, the objective markers are in the same place, the 10, 14, 20 and 8, 10, 14, 20 and 8, yeah, 10, 14, 22 and 8, okay, so it's a bit further down, which actually means holding this one is going to be obviously harder for both of us. Okay, so that's interesting. So if that's 22, that's a 10-inch move, which means a scout sentinel can't get there. Oh no, it'll be within 3. Okay, but yeah, it means if you've got to basically, you know, if you're deploying on there and you've got to get infantry on there, that's a 10-inch move. Oh, it's probably okay, but still, yeah, this is, I don't know what to make of this one. Now, the other thing is that for the more competitive of you play tournaments, what obviously really matters is which missions all the tournament organisers actually go for, which deployments, and maybe they just look at this and go, it's too complicated to set up, it's too hard to navigate mentally. So that's new. And then sweeping engagements. Okay, this is also different in the sense of what they've done. So sweeping engagement previously was the diagonal, and very confident sweeping a battle. Yeah, it was basically from there to there. Yeah, so they've changed it completely in the sense that actual deployment zone is a bit more squished now, and it looks like this point here is what it was before. So the furthest forward point in the center is the same, but obviously it's been pared back significantly in the furthest point, and then it's been given a bit more here because obviously it was a diagonal. Now, as per again what they said in the video, they're trying to make things easier. This is, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit too complicated, but you just got to put dice. But you know, are you going to place units? Then maybe you place Bolgrams. It depends on terrain. Yeah, we haven't seen a terrain pack, but yeah. So okay, so basically, a key point, and sorry that's dropped out, is that there's now 7 deployment zones. Previously it was 6, with tipping point being new, and obviously they've tuned some of they've tuned Dawn of War to bigger deployment zone, and sweeping engagement is now this blocky thing. So yeah, so that's interesting. So not, well, you know, some change there, but arguably there's probably, you know, 4 of them have remained the same. Sweeping engagement is changed to be quite blocky, and tipping point is brand new. So that's deployment zones. Okay, now on to mission rules. So, okay. Right, so spoiler alert, they've all changed. The only one that's remained the same is hidden supplies. And hidden supplies basically is the one where you basically have an extra objective marker. Yeah, so that's changed, and everything else has gone. So all of the old ones, like Scrambler Fields, Supply Lines, Maelstrom of Battle, Minefields, Secret Intel, Vox Static, Tugs of Opportunity, Chosen, blah blah blah, have all gone completely. Now, I think, yeah, the first one that's interesting that's gone is Chilling Rain, because having played a few tournaments, that was used a lot because it's just simple to navigate. And now there's nothing as we go through it that comes even close to that, which is essentially nothing on top. So that is a change. Now, as we go through, they're all very different. I haven't a clue what most of them do just looking at them, besides when I actually move down onto them. So, okay, Fog of War. In the first battle round, units have the benefits of cover, and that players cannot use core stratagems. Okay, so interesting in the sense that benefits of cover. Now in 10th edition, you typically always have benefits of cover because of the way terrain rules work, but you know, there are potentially some deployments where you may not have cover. So the classic one that typically Dawn of War, with the current sort of UKTC terrain, basically often has like big gaps here and here. So you've probably got less concern now that the unit's sat there in the open. They've got the benefits of cover, +1 save, UP. And the other aspect, of course, is that you can't use core stratagems. So, I mean, in the first battle round, using many core stratagems, I don't know. Command reroll definitely is one. So potentially, as we discussed, or as I mentioned, getting onto that first objective, having to advance, you only roll a 1 to advance into 3. That could basically suck. And being quite simple, maybe this is the one that the tournament organisers go with, because it's just quite straightforward. So that's Fog of War. Okay, Adapt or Die, quite thematic. Okay, so this is interesting in the sense, if you go fixed missions, or if you play tactical missions, you've got some options here. So if you go fixed once per battle, end of your turn, after scoring any victory points, you can discard one of your secondary missions and replace it with another secondary fixed mission. Okay, if you're playing tactical, twice per battle, you can basically bin off a secondary mission, and replace it with another secondary fixed mission. So you can basically bin off a secondary mission, and replace it with another secondary fixed mission. And the key thing is that you shuffle one of those 2 secondary mission cards back into their secondary mission deck. So this is very interesting in the sense that if you're playing fixed and potentially maybe you've maxed one of your fixed or you're just bombing it hard, you can basically change it and go to something which makes a bit more sense. So maybe you've gone with cleanse, pretend your opponent's just hammering you, you can't get on the objective, so you basically decide quite early to go to engage all fronts, for example. And likewise with this one here, playing tactical, given you can already do it via the New Orders stratagem, and as we'll look at some of the new secondaries in a second, this means the world is your oyster. So if this is a mission rule, you probably will never have a tactical card which you can't actually score, because you just got so many options now. So that's completely new. Now, again, from a tournament point of view, for you more competitive guys and gals, will they play this? I don't know. I hope they do, because it's bloody interesting. But of course, you know, if you're stomping on your opponent's throat and you've maxed, you know, you're nailing the secondaries, the fixed ones you've taken, and you see an opportunity to get even more, you know, that could definitely be quite nasty. Okay, the next is Inspired Leadership. This one definitely is a bit more fluffy in the sense, while a player's Warlord isn't in the DZ, each to unit from the player's army takes a battle shock. If the player's Warlord is within 9 and visible to that unit, add 1 to the test. Okay, so you've got then probably, you know, your battle line units, your jungle fighters, etc., having a leadership of 6, etc., and your tank commanders having leadership 6, so that's cool. Will this be used a lot in competitive play? Probably not, but maybe, because it's pretty simple. But that would suck if you got Lord Solar just always sat at the back of the board. But you never know. All right, prepared positions. Now, battle line can use the go to ground, which basically I think is a 6-up invulnerable save. So good for squishy Cadagen jungle fighters, and heroic intervention for 0 CP. So that is interesting. Now, again, I read the article, listened to what the gentleman said from the rules team, is they want to promote battle line units more, because definitely in the way the structure of the you know army roster building stage is set up, is that there's no reason to take battle line unless you want to. Now, GW have made this an issue themselves, because if you remember back to, oh gosh, 9th edition, there were certain requirements. You had to take like battle line units to basically make the list work, and you had specific, like you had battalions, you had like vanguard and spearheads, these different type of, and they have to have certain number of units. But now you just take whatever you want now. Yeah, so you can take a warlord. You can't have epic heroes twice, and then you take anything else. So now they're actually trying to push battle line units to be a bit more played. So it's just going to make you want to play Cadagen jungle fighters or Death Corps, go to ground stratagem for free. Meh. Heroic intervention. Meh. I mean, if you're playing Custodes, heroic intervention stratagem for free would be very, very nice. Obviously, some stabby boys, maybe orcs. But will this impact Astra Militarum? I don't think so. Will it be used a lot? We don't know. Of course, if you're playing more casually, having a bit more of a good time, being more random play, of course, the other way to play 40k is to basically just shuffle the DZ, shuffle the mission cards, pull one up, and then if you do get this, fantastic. You know, you've got some 6-up invulnerable save infantry models for Astra Militarum that can heroically intervene as well. Okay, raise banners, going back to 9th edition. So, battle line units from your army that are within range of an objective marker that you control, raise a banner, and you score 1 victory point, which is counted towards a secondary mission score. And that player's unit can no longer raise a banner on that objective. Now, the key thing is that there's no mention of this being an action, of you having to be eligible to shoot, as long as the battle line unit is within range of an objective and you control it, you score 1 victory point. So that's good. That's good, absolutely. So, you know, there's typically 3 objective markers in no man's land. You know, you typically, in most games, you hold at least 1, so that's an extra 1 if you've got some jungle fighters on that objective. And then, you know, as you sort of play the game, maybe contest a center for a single turn, it's an extra 1 point. So, you know, it's an additional 3 points, yeah, because you can't do it more than once on one objective marker. But that definitely is enough. You know, often when the games are getting quite tight, extra 3 points can be the win. So that's cool. Raise banners. Okay, rapid escalation. I'm loving these names. Now, brand new. So battle line units from strat reserves in the reinforcement steps of the movement phase in the first battle round. Those units must be set up wholly within 6 of the battlefield edge, but no model in those units can be set up within the enemy's deployment zone. The points total can be no more than 10% of the total points list. So obviously that means 200 points for the 2,000 point game. Now this is interesting. Okay, in the first battle round, you can basically take battle line units in strat reserves and plonk them on the tabletop in the first turn, the first battle round. So that, yeah, that can be, depending on the opponent, terrifying. But then again, for us, I mean, you know, jungle fighters already have scout move 6. In the first battle round, each player. Now this will, I'm just thinking from a, like the sequencing point of view. In the first battle round, each. Okay, so if you go second, is this better? Or is it better if you go first? Now, what do you think? Because I'm not like a rules lawyer when I look at this type of thing, but this definitely feels like it's got some potential horrific implications for us, in the sense you get someone with some really nasty battle line units that come in from strat reserves turn 1. That could be nasty. Now, is it good for us? I don't know, but it's definitely just more options here. It's adding another bit of variety. And again, you know, if this is actually the mission rule you're playing, you need to basically look at your toolkit in the army and basically work out, potentially say with your infiltrate units or your scout units, can you potentially screen out? It means you have to basically screen from the get-go. You have to be fully screening as soon as possible in no man's land, of course. And if you can achieve that through scout moves or through infiltrate units like Slayer Marbo or Gaunt's Ghosts or Deathcore Riders with a Marshal, this is something else to think about. So that's a new element of the game. That's actually a brand new element. First turn, strat reserves coming in. Okay, next one is then Smoke and Mirrors. This is also brand new. Okay, so after both players have deployed, starting with the attacker, each player can place 1 unit from their army that is on the battlefield into strat reserves, regardless of how many units are already in strat reserves. The points value cannot exceed 25% of each player's total army for the chosen battle site, so 500 points for 1 unit. Okay, so Smoke and Mirrors. Okay, so right, so Lord Solar already has this. We can already put units into strat reserves. So now you could put maybe 4 units into strat reserves. Now, would you want to put that many into strat reserves? Maybe. And you know, I can't think of anybody with 500 points. Well, I mean, okay, so if we have a Baneblade, or one of the Titanic models, you know, and you want to play some games and put that into strat reserves alongside everything else Lord Solar's let you do that. That definitely is new. Now, again, will the competitive scene in the tournaments use this rule? I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know how those blokes and ladies think through what missions and primaries they'll use, or DZs, but this certainly, again, I don't think they'll probably put this in the competitive scene. And this is from Jeff Hannon, who plays a tournament once every 6 months, so I'm not an expert. But this feels like it's probably, yeah, it's not probably huge. I don't know. It's like one more step. All right, next is Stalwarts, whatever you call it. So battle line can perform an action. Are still eligible to shoot that turn. And those battle line units can perform actions within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. So basically, as per what I showed at the start, it's switching off certain requirements in that they can still perform actions when they've shot, and also can do it when they're within engagement range. So basically, it's almost like they got pistols back in the old rule set. So again, trying to boost battle line units. Now, the key thing to sort of think about here is that these are all mission rules, which only means one of them affects the game you play. So if I think it's been how many? So raised banners, stalwarts, prepared positions. No, raised banners. Yes, okay. I'm trying to think. I think it was 2 or 3 of them so far impact battle line units. So if only one of these, you know, is actually in play, is it going to really change the shape of the game? And we'll come to that in a minute, because I actually list out all the action secondaries. But Okay, this is nice. Jungle fighters, Deathcore, Cadians can shoot and perform actions. That's great for your las guns. Or they can do it whilst moving engage at range of enemy units. Okay, and the last is swift action. So battle line units that have advanced or fallen back are eligible to perform an action. Okay, so I think is that 4 of them, I think, so far, that actually help battle line units. Again, is this better than this? You know, would you prefer that your jungle fighters can shoot and do an action, or would you prefer that they can advance and do an action? I don't know. Yeah, so this is, I think, how many, I think mission rules there was, there's now 10, previously there were 12, and they basically binned off all of them. So that kind of suggests that they didn't think they were working, if they've just totally changed them all. And the thing is, I don't actually know the mission rules all that well beyond Chilling Rain, because, beyond Hidden Supplies and Chilling Rain, because I just barely played any others of them, because I mostly play sort of like competitive people, and we just do almost what the mission packs are in the tournaments. But yeah, so this is interesting. Obviously a big push to support battle lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's actually more. 4. I think it was 4 or 5 actually boost battle line units. So, you know, and I think this is a bit of an overall statement, is that in armies with good battle line units, this is great. With armies that their battle units aren't great, you can definitely argue of our total, all our units, are our battle line units the best in the book? No, because they're just squishy dudes with a toughness 3 and a 5+ save. Are they cheap? Yes. Are they cool? Yes. Have they got play? Yes. But are they the strongest part of our index? No. Versus, say, I'm going to pick a Custodes, because their battle units are some of the best in the book, because they're, you know, world cost type of thing. Okay, so that is the mission rules. Okay, now on to the primary. Okay, primary. Now, good thing I did this spreadsheet, because I'd be lost without my little spreadsheet right now. Okay, so right, take and hold, no change. Okay, that makes it easy. The ritual. Okay, so there's a change here. And I can't remember what the change is, because I've got so many to remember, but this it's basically the same thing. The ritual is, let's have a look. There was one minor change. The ritual, okay, so basically this is the one where you basically move the objectives around, and I think it's basically exactly from one objective marker within no man's land, and not within 6 of any other. Previously, I think it was 9 and 6. Now, I rarely played this. I don't know how this one works, but I know that's the change. If you know how this works, tell me, because I found this very, very confusing. But I think this is almost you're basically dropping objective markers all over the board. And like, I think fundamentally it hasn't really changed. The scoring's the same, but I think this distant thing plays with it a little bit. But I don't know how it works. So tell me if you're in the comments. All right, so unexploded ordnance, aka UXOs. The UXOs is the acronym the army uses, and other military arms, is basically the new deploy servo skull. So a lot of people don't like this one. This is when you play the football and you kick it up and down, and haven't listened to other competitive 40k channels, Art of War. They don't like this one, and you really see it in tournaments, and I think no one really likes it because I think if you go first, you just have a massive advantage. You just boot the objective marker all the way up towards your opponent, and then basically playing like a losing battle to try and push it backwards and forwards. Now, you know, I don't know. I mean, is this crazy? I think I've played it once or twice, didn't do that well at it, but I don't actually know what changed. It's an action, so it's actually an action. So, you know, there are benefits then if it's interfacing with other rules, which benefits battle lines. Potentially, if you can advance and do an action, that's even more range to push this objective marker around. But yeah, so the key point with this one is it's deploy servo skulls, but needs an action to occur. Okay, the next is one called Linchpin. It's a brand new one. Okay, so this basically, you need to hold your home objective. So a player who does not control the objective marker in the deployment zone, they score 3 victory points for each objective marker they hold. But if you do hold your objective marker in your deployment zone, they score 3 for controlling that objective marker and 5 for each other of the objective markers. So this actually is like you have to hold the home, because if you don't hold your home objective, you score 3 points for ones in no man's land. But if you do hold it, you score 3 points for the one in deployment zone, or 5 points for those in no man's land. So yeah. Now I think it's because some of the previous games, some of the previous primaries, they were like the way they were set up, and I think one of them, I think these two, priority target and sites of power, I think that incentivize you loads to hold your home objective, but this firmly wants you to hold your home objective now, because it fundamentally impacts the scoring massively for the primary. Okay, next is then Scorched Earth. This is the one where you burn an objective and you score 5 for holding for one in the center of in the no man's land, or 10 on your opponents. And the key thing is here, previously you had to be within an inch of the objective marker. Now you just have to hold the objective marker, I believe. So within range, which means 3 inches. Now, this is, I think, and again, I haven't played it. I played it once or twice in tournaments, but I think the mechanics of this is no change. It's just the fact it's easier to hold it now. It's been, as opposed to being within an inch, you can be within 3 inches. Now, the other thing is also this is an action as well, which I don't think was really any different to what it was before. But again, made it very clear how you can action. Right, supply drops, no change, and this is the Alpha Omega. I think chatting to one of my mates, Adam, is that we kind of feel that this one, yeah, really can mess you around if it's like, if the one that remains at the end is your furthest objective marker, because some of the missions, some of the DZs, maybe not anymore, but some of them certainly, there's one which is easier for you to get, and there's one which is harder for you to get, maybe with the way the terrain's set up and also that physical distance. And it's almost like if the one that's furthest away from you, blocked by terrain or by distance, is the one that remains, this game, this mission becomes really hard. But the mechanics of this have remained the same, as I understand it. Okay, Purge the Foe, the worst mission for me. I hate this because I typically play MSU Guard, less so now. But the key point here is that you no longer score 4 points for killing more in the first battle round. So that is definitely helpful, because if you go second, and your opponent's been potentially a little bit aggressive and put a unit on the objective, you batter that unit, and then suddenly you've got an extra 4 points and you're off to a massive start. Now, beyond that, the fundamentals of this mission have remained the same. I still think this will suck for me, because I always seem to have a habit of throwing away junk quite early, all my chaffy dudes, just to recycle them. Obviously, regimental units, but still, not having an extra 4 points for your opponent to killing stuff in the first battle round definitely gives us a bit more leeway. Okay, next is a brand new one called Burden of Trust. Okay, so this one, right, so this basically you have to have a unit holding, guarding the objective. So you score 4 victory points for each marker they control that's not within deployment zone. Then for each objective marker that player controls, you select one unit from your army, excluding aircraft, within range of the objective marker to guard it until the start of the next turn. End of each player's turn, the opponent of the player who scored it scores 2 victory points. Oh gosh, how does this read? The opponent of the player's turn who scores 2 victory points end of each of this. Okay, yeah. So in your opponent's turn, you score 2 victory points. Each of the player's turn for each of the units that have engaged and guard an objective marker they control. Okay, yeah. Okay, so hold an objective, you nominate a unit to basically guard that objective, and then as long as that unit is guarding the objective in your opponent's turn, you score 2 points. Now, the opponent scores 2 for each of the units that are within range and guard an objective marker they control. Okay, so yeah, so this is interesting because if you hold it and you keep guarding it with the same unit, you just score an additional 2 each round. So that means you've got a potential to hold second battle round ornaments. I think it's an extra 6 points, is that right? Is it extra 6 points? Depending if you go first or second. But this is good for guard, I guess, because you typically hold it with 2 I think against indirect armies like us, this will be quite bad because you could basically bomb the guarding unit, but the guarding units will probably often be lone ops. So this is interesting. Now, will this get competitive play? I don't know. I think it might actually, because it's a relatively easy mechanic to understand, besides me articulating it not very well. But this definitely feels like it's got good play, and then I think, I think Sly Marbo is a hidden treasure. I never use him properly. He always dies too early. But I think he's a bit of a hidden treasure. Lone op 1 model, compared to Gaunt's Ghost with 6 bases, is a lot easier to hide. He's 65 points, he's super squishy. But he's got some jank. I think he could definitely be a good candidate for this. He could basically sit behind some other units just screening him out nice and neat. Can't be artillered by anybody else. And he's only targetable within 12, so that's definitely interesting. Okay, another new one is Terraform. Okay, so this is an action. So one or more units from your army. It's in range of different objective markers, not being terraformed. So end of your opponent's next turn or the end of the battle, if the unit performing this action is within range, you control that thing. That is then terraformed. So you score 4 for each objective marker you control, and 2 additional for each you've terraformed during that battle. So this one reads, and again, I'm not great with this type of thing, but this is cumulative, so if you terraform in the second battle round, you're then basically scoring 6 for that objective until you've taken off that objective. But actually, so once you terraform it, you score 2 VP forever, because it doesn't say anything about your opponent taking off you. So obviously you lose 4, you can't score 4 because you don't control it, but that is basically scoring you 2 for the rest of the game. Ugh. So yeah, that's interesting. Definitely some of the missions and the maps, there's maybe potential to terraform 2. But again, I think lone ops are going to be really good for this, because they can be super safe, because obviously you need to do it in your turn. It happens at the end of your opponent's turn, so they've got the ability to react to that and maybe turn off. Because that could be nasty, yeah? Because if you do it early, that's an extra 8, is it? Or 6. But still, that feels like it could blow the doors off quite easily. But 4-2, yeah, okay. All right. So that's the primaries. The 2 that were deleted are Sites of Power, and that was we had a character doing an action on an object, holding a objective gave you additional victory points, and Priority Targets was the one where you basically end of the game, what you sit on, you score victory points for, and that according to other competitive channels was pretty dull, because it just meant you played a super cagey game and just had more stuff on the board at the end of the game. So the primary's gone from now it's 9, previously 8, I believe. So an extra 1 in there. So yeah, I'm not super good at analyzing this so far, but definitely there's a lot of new stuff in here. Burden of Trust, Terraform feel quite new. They're definitely more action-based, and I kind of feel that there are more action-style objectives now, no? And that's where the battle line units, if the mission card taken supports that, could actually make this a bit easier to do. Okay. Right, second lastly, secondaries. So, man, glad I did this analysis, guys. I'd be lost right now. So, right, so secondaries. Now, there's a lot to digest here, but let's go through that. So, okay. So secure no man's land, no chains, score 2, score 5. End of your turn for holding 1 or holding 2. That's good. Okay, containment is brand new. Now, containment is basically a replacement of investigate signals. So investigate signals is where you're on the corners, and you basically get 2 points for each. But this now simply is wholly within 9 inches of 1 or more battlefield edges, but not within deployment zone. So if it's basically, you deploy here, deploy there, as long as you're within 9 of those 2, and not within deployment zone, jobs are good. And so you could basically score, 6 quite easily. So, again, Action, one or more units from your wholly within select, and it happens immediately. So this is a money maker. So if you get this early, you just have 2 units, and this is where MSU was obviously better, yeah, because you've got loads of junk units to just sort of like score secondaries, as opposed to committing, say, Lehman Russ, Rogel Dawn, for example, having to do something like that. But again, this is a money card. This is just cash money. If you get this one, you're happy days. Okay, Mark for Def is brand new. Now this one is interesting. So your opponent must select 3 units from their army on the battlefield. If there are only 1 or 2 units on the battlefield, they must select those ones. If there's no units on the battlefield, discard this and draw a new secondary mission card. Okay, so your opponent chooses 3 units from the army. So end of either player's turn, which is interesting. So either your turn or your opponent's turn. If 1 or more of those selected units were destroyed or removed from the battlefield for any reason, that scores you 5 victory points. Now, this sounds cool, but actually could be terrible. If it's early in the game, they would basically just choose all the stuff at the back of the board, obviously. Now, being an artillery army, that probably matters less. But again, if it's the late game and your opponent's only got 3 units left because it's the late game, this could be quite nice. But of course, your opponent's going to choose something nasty like the Avatar of Cain, or something with like a 4-up Feel No Pain or 4-up Invul save, like a Satan Necron ghost thing. Like they choose that, like, because you're not going to have much chance of actually killing it. So this is very situational. It could be amazing, but also probably is easy to play around. But the other thing also is if it's taken off the battlefield, if you're playing an army which has a lot of up down stuff, that could also basically, could be an own goal for your opponent if they choose an army then to up down and they can't up down it. They can up down and give you 5 victory points, or not up down it and impact the rest of the game. Okay, next is defend stronghold. So 3 victory points, no change. Now, nothing has changed here at all, so defend stronghold. Okay, next is then storm hostile. Now this is the first of the fixed cards. Now this has changed in the sense, if it's a first battle round and you can draw a new secondary card and shuffle this back into the secondary mission deck. So this definitely is one which, if you get it first turn, it sucks ass because your opponent doesn't control any objectives, so you can't take any objectives off them. Boosh. Now also this, I think the scoring has changed. I think it was previously 4-5 for fixed, 5 for fixed, now it's just 4. Yeah, so if you take it either tactical or fixed, it's scoring you 4. Okay, now engage your fronts. This has also changed subtly as well, where basically previously you had to be inside 3 inches of the table quarter to score it. Now there's no requirement. The only thing is that you have to be 6 inches away from the center of the battlefield, but gone are the days of having to be 19 inches in from the table edge coming that way to score it, or you've got to be basically 20. It's quite complicated. Now it's just within. So this is definitely easier to score, and I think for fixed it scores less now. I think previously it was 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're in all 4 table quarters, but now it's just 4. But it's easier to do. Now this is always a safe bet, albeit 2. I think, that's right. I think fixed was 3 for 3 table quarters. 2, if you took this as fixed, 5 turns is only 10. But of course, if you've got scions, if you've got guides and reinforcements, get 1 unit into your opponent's deployment zone late in the game, that's suddenly scoring you 4. But definitely it feels less attractive for fixed. Engage your fronts. Okay, recover assets is brand new. It's an action. Okay, so this takes a bit to sort of talk through. It's quite easy once you get it, but this is 2 or more of your units in your army that wholly within a different area of the deployment zone. The area has been no man's land, your opponent's deployment zone, and your deployment zone. So at the end of your opponent's next turn, so these have to survive to do so, you basically have to do the action, you give up shooting, and at the opponent's next turn, if they're still alive and not in engagement range, etc., etc., you score points. So if 2 of those units successfully perform the action, you score 3. If 3 of those units, basically in your deployment zone, no man's land, your opponent's deployment zone, complete the action, that scores you 6. So scoring 3 for this should be a moneymaker. Again, you got an infantry squad, unattached to Lord Salt, maybe unattached this time to Ursula Creed, by itself, just sitting there. It performs the action. A lone op performs the action. Sly Marbo, Gaunt's Ghost in no man's land, 3 points, albeit they can't shoot, of course. And then also maybe if you drop some scions in, because in your opponent's next turn, if those scions magically live, then you score 6. So this maybe because it's fixed replaces teleport homers, which I believe has been removed. Yeah, teleport homers has been removed, which I'll get onto in a second. Cool. Okay, behind enemy lines. Again, if you draw it in the first turn, you can shuffle it back because getting this first turn absolutely sucks, as you know, unless you're playing Eldar, have got loads of movement or something else like that, which we don't, being a guard. Now, also crucially, it scores 4 victory points if you've got 2. I think previously it was 5, I believe, for fixed. Fixed, yes. No, tactical. Okay, right, area denial. So this hasn't changed the scoring, but the word wholly has been removed. So previously it had to be wholly within 3, and enemy units wholly within 3, or wholly within 6 to impact this, but now neither is required. Now, I'm very confident that's the change, yeah, because you have to be within 3, you can just be towing into 3, but if your opponent tows within 3 as well, then you can't score it. So that makes this easier to score and easier to have it not scored in the sense that you can just tow it and so can your opponent. Got assassination, no change. 4 or 5 in tactical. 4 for tactical, 5 for fixed. That's also fixed. Okay, cleanse remains, and cleanse scores less for fixed, I believe. So I think fixed was, if you did twice, you got 5, I think. I'm getting this wrong, let me check. But basically nothing else has changed here. And I should know this because I use cleanse loads. No, sorry, yeah. It impacts tactical again, apologies. So yeah, previously you scored 5 if you're tactical. Random cards not only score 4. And I think this is the thing, is that all of the fixed cards, there's no differentiation between fixed or tactical, they score the same. So that's the key thing. Okay, so that's cleanse. Now we've got established locus. Now this is deploy homers, yeah? So shooting phase, action, end of your turn. If units within your opponent's deployment zone or within 6 of the center, again within 6, not wholly within 6. End of your turn. So this is another moneymaker. If it's within 6 of the center, it's 2. If it's within your opponent's zone, it's 4. So previously I think it was 3 and 4. Now being 2 and 4 means from a fixed point of view, again, if you can't get into opponent's deployment zone, the entire game, you're only going to score 10. Now that's way less better than scoring 15 previously for deploy homers. Yeah, let's check was deploy homers. So this definitely is probably less attractive from that's tactical. God, I'm making a muddle of this, but it's a tactical is less that pays less points in inverted commas. Okay. All right, next is Sabotage by Beastie Boys. Now, another one, it's an action. So one unit from the army that's within a terrain feature, not within deployment zone. Okay, so going to be within a terrain feature. Okay, until the opponent's next turn, or end of the battle, whichever comes first, you commit sabotage. So you get 3 victory points if it's not if it's in no man's land. You get 6 victory points if it's in an opponent's deployment zone. Now this, I'm going to assume, will never get competitive play, but again, for casual play, this could be super cool if you've got a very immersive battlefield with loads of terrain features everywhere. This could definitely, be quite nice, and also I think it's quite fluffy. It's cool to think about them, maybe like setting up a bomb in like an oil refinery, or like jeopardizing a command bunker or something. That's pretty cool. But I don't think this will get much competitive play. But it's cool though. Okay, overwhelming force, no change, no prisoners, no change, and bring it down has had change. Now, I'm going to get the app and get a dummy mission up because this I found quite confusing navigating my brain, but the way this scores is different. So now it's simply cumulative. It's 2 plus 2 plus 2. The other key point here is that there's no cap on this, and this is also fixed. So if you get this as a tactical, you could score 20 on this if you manage to blow up all your opponent's vehicles and monsters. Now, the scoring is a bit of a brain. Again, I always struggle with this, but I'm just going to get to a game I'm currently playing. Bring it down. So let's war game this. So if you pull this from a tactical random point of view, if you kill a scout sentinel in the old world, you score 3. Yeah, because 2 points for killing a 0 to 9 and 1 additional point for doing so. That's 3. Now, in this new world, if you kill a scout sentinel, you score 2. Yeah? Okay, so that's good for a scout sentinel. How about if you kill Lehman Russ? So if you kill Lehman Russ in the old world, you score 4. Because it's 3 points plus 1. In the new world, you score 2. Because Lehman Russ has got 13 wounds. Now, if you kill a Rogal Dawn in the old world, you get 5. And in this world, you get 4. So, if I'm reading this right, and tell me if I'm getting this wrong, because I do that a lot, as you probably get the sense. This feels better for vehicles, I think. Now, if you play fixed, if you played fixed in the old, what did it do in the old world? Because if you play fixed for bring it down, and there's one other key point I'm going to call out as well, which doesn't impact guard really, is that if you played fixed, you score each time injury, tactical. If you play, okay, make a note of this, but from what I can tell from this, it feels like you score less for bring it down against guard. So that's great. So again, Scout Sentinel previously was 3, I believe. If someone plays tactical, now it's only worth 2. But one crucial thing for this, which doesn't impact us a lot, is it's basically it has to be the unit. That's the key difference. Is monster or vehicle unit. So against Tau, who had blobs of vehicles, be it the little flying robot suits, this was awful for them. But now you've got to kill the entire unit. So if they've got a brick of 6 crisis suits, which they always do with a character, that's actually really hard to achieve, because killing all those, killing a blob of 4 up invul save crisis suits is a lot harder than killing 1. Yeah, so that's very good for some other armies. You know, for us, if you've got squadrons of Scout Sentinels or squadrons of Armored Sentinels, which definitely aren't the meta right now. They were, maybe to start, they were pretty decent, but that helps us. But then overall, I do think this probably does make it, people get less points for shooting against us, because if they kill a Rogal Dawn, if they kill a Lehman Russ, they get 2. Previously they got 4, I believe, if I'm getting my calculations right. So this feels good, I believe. That feels good. Okay, what's next is extend battle lines, no change. Now, Cull the Horde is new, and I believe, again, this is targeted at only a couple of armies, maybe Tyranids, but the way this works is each time an enemy infantry unit is destroyed, if one or more of the following conditions are satisfied, you score 5 victory points. So if the starting strength for the destroyed unit was 20 plus, 20 plus is a key break point, because 20 plus means Def Corps blobs, Catachan blobs, infantry blobs. Cadian blobs aren't affected by this because it's 20 plus. Not 20. Does it? Oh boy. Does that actually impact those blobs? It was 20 plus. Oh gosh. Now this is where I don't get the rules really well, because does that impact our blobs of 20 guys? Was 20 plus? Was it equal to or 20 more? I mean, you tell me, because again, I'm not good at this. I'm quite simple when it comes to this, but 20 plus. I think it does impact us then, doesn't it? If you've got massive battle line blobs, 20 plus does impact us. Or you've got a total of 25 wounds across all the dudes. So Bolgrim blobs won't qualify for that. Def Corps, they're not infantry. And for the purpose of rules, leader units are ignored. Now this is a fixed one, interestingly. So does 20 plus impact 20-man blobs of catagens? I think it does. But again, I'm really bad at interpreting this type of thing. My brain's a bit simple, this type of thing. So this is new, and I think it impacts us, and it's also fixed. Okay, but then again, in the current meta, if you're playing competitively, are 20-man blobs of dudes the meta? Don't know. And is a 20-man blob of dudes easy to kill? Well, depends. Probably yes, but in other armies, maybe orcs, etc., or other specific units, this could definitely be quite nasty. But I think 20 plus doesn't affect us. I don't know. You tell me, because again, I'm not good at this rules interpretation. But from that, the deleted ones is tempting target. That's gone. And capture enemy outpost, which obviously has a huge chance to massively randomize the game, because if you get it first turn, it's terrible. If you get it last turn, fantastic, because potentially your opponent's on the back foot, got nothing left, and you just put a dude on there with OC2 versus OC1, you just win the game. And the key thing is there's 18 new secondaries versus 16, but you can definitely see from this that they probably were overall happier with the secondaries in the sense that they kept a lot of them. Now, what I've also put here is the fixed. There are a total of... Oh, Cola Hall's also a fix. Apologies. Is that true? Yes, it is. So they've got... how many? 10 fixed. How many fixed were there previously? I don't know if it was 10. I think it maybe was the same. I can just check on the app. On an app. So you've got 10 fixed secondaries. Previously there were... Oh, man. I'm not going to work it out, but there's 10. And the other thing to look at is then from the different objectives types is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 kill objectives. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 board control. And then what I called is 2 objective control. With... capture enemy outpost and tempting target removed, and then actions. Basically there are 6 actions, 5 action ones. So with that being said, if there's 18 cards and 5 of them are actions, alongside some of the obviously the primary rules, you know, a battle line unit's going to make all the difference. Maybe, don't know. But if only 5 of the secondaries, and I'm pretty sure I got this right, are actions, is it going to make much of a difference? I don't know. But it definitely feels from having reviewed the primary cards that there probably are more actions that take effect. Yeah, as I remember going through, particularly the Terraform. So, yeah, maybe Battle Line does have a bit more play. And again, I think the thing is for us is that it's a good and a bad. If you've got cheap action units, you've got loads of them, Battle Line units. But also our battle line units are super squishy, so if you're hedging a game on the sense you can do more actions, and you've got a 10-man blob of catagens or a 5-up save, they're just going to disappear against things that look at them that are quite nicely. Alright, so let's move on to the final piece, hopefully still with me, still paying attention in this lesson. I'm getting quite tired because it's quite late for me, but so, as I said, gambits are gone, now secret missions are here instead. Now, as per the rule wording, if we go to the right thing in this folded up thing, is that, okay, secret missions at the end of the third battle round, starting with a player who went second, if your primary mission total is less than or equal to your opponent's, you can undertake a secret mission. If you do so, secretly select 1 card from the deck and place it face down. You can't score more than 20 from the primary mission card with any excess VP awarded above this maximum lost. At the end of the battle, reveal the secondary to your opponent. If you achieve the goal, you score victory point as described on the card. So this is a secret. You keep it a secret as per the name. So let's have a look at them. Now, again, listen to other YouTubers and also GW, as they basically said that no one took gambits. They're super rare and they're almost impossible to get. And I basically never took them ever because you just never thought about playing because they're so complicated and hard to do. So again, different people's perspectives, these feel a bit more achievable. So this one, command insertion. So end of the battle, your warlord is within range of 1 objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone. So Lord Solar, he's going to trundle his way up the board, the end of turn 3. Is he going to get there? Probably not. But of course, against other opponents, this could definitely be one that could be very effective. You just have to be within range of the objective that you control. It's either control an objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone and score a whopping 20 points. So this could blow the doors off. And again, certain armies, this could be fantastic. Trajan Valoris, Adeptus Custodes is a good one. He's a blender. Or maybe some of the big Primarchs, the evil Primarchs, the Chaos Primarchs, that could be very effective as well. Some Chaos Primarchs as well. This could be a play. This could just suddenly wallop 20 points onto the game. Okay, Shadow Cohesion. This basically is table your opponent. So this is nice. But then it's almost like, if at the end of turn 3, you decide you're not doing well, can you table your opponent? But again, I'm not sure how the scoring actually works, but maybe you think you can score more by blowing up your opponent as opposed to holding more. So that for us definitely has play, because if you're playing a tank list, which I haven't played like a pure tank list, I imagine it's actually probably hard to hold objectives, because if you've got OC 3 Leman Russ versus battle line units with OC 10, that's quite hard to do. But definitely if you play the game, you can just flatten your opponent, blow up all this stuff. Here's all her stuff. Now, it's either no units left on the battlefield, or the units are battle shocked, below half strength, and more than more than 3 inches away from objective markers. So this then makes it quite plausible, because either they're battle shocked because they don't have enough, they're below half strength, or they're below half strength, or they're more than 3 inches away from an objective marker. So there's quite a few criteria here, but this feels quite nasty, because again, you could be quite smart with your artillery. If you've got like a 5-man intercessor squad, you put a Manticore in there, you kill 2 or 3, they're below half strength, therefore they satisfy it. Got something else that's on crucially it's on 60% of its wounds, throw a grenade, tank shock it, you get it down below half, suddenly it's not longer counted. So this definitely feels like it could come up quite a lot. This feels nasty, so this could definitely be quite a nasty one as well, which is cool. Unbroken Wall. Okay, so you control 3 objective markers out not within your deployment zone. Oof. Okay. Yeah, so I guess, and again, I'm not super tactical, but this basically means you give up the home objective, you just rush forward, hold all of them in the center. And then, yeah, this almost feels like, I felt like the gambits were more, if you were having a bombing terrible time, you would go for a gambit, but these kind of feel that if you're doing well, you just choose them. And again, your perspective is important, because I'm not the super most coherent with this type of thing, but this feels like it's almost like if you're doing well, you just choose it. Maybe. Okay, War of Attrition. This is I think is interesting. So, end of the battle. 1 or more battle units from your army are within your opponent's deployment zone, and one of the following conditions apply. There are no battle line units from your opponent's army on the battlefield. Every battle line unit from your opponent's army that is on the battlefield is within your opponent's deployment zone. So one of the following conditions. So no battle line units from your opponent's army on the battlefield. Okay, or every battle line unit from your opponent's army that is on the battlefield is within your opponent's deployment zone. Okay, so cool. So you got to get a battle line unit from your army in your opponent's deployment zone. Easy. You reinforce, because you've recycled them over and over again, some jungle fighters into opponent's deployment zone. And then you make sure that either they're all dead, or the only ones that are alive are basically in your opponent's deployment zone. So this definitely has merit for us. Again, artillery, you can be quite nasty with this. Obviously, if they're hiding behind things, you've got 2 turns to blow them out of cover. Just dominate them with fields of fire and manticores and Airshade Carriage Batch, or whatever artillery you take currently, because they've got quite expensive. So yeah, so definitely. And what's your perspective? Yeah, because again, I only play a little bit, but these secret missions feel more like you can just turbocharge things and just score more. Because I kind of feel if you're having a bad time, can you actually do this? Can you actually kill all battle line units? And again, it depends, because if your opponent doesn't have many battle line units, this actually is easy then. So if they decided to take 1 battle line unit and ignore the fact everything else is buffing them, then go for it. Like, this could actually be quite good for us. Yeah. this could definitely be quite good for us, because you just pick them off early, and then you know when coming in turn 3 you're going to choose this, because, and that's the thing, you could basically, it's a secret, so you could basically, you know, hedge your bets that you know, maybe you're not going to hold primary because the opponent's got more non-battle line stuff holding the objectives in the center of the board, so you just go for this instead, give up the fact they hold primary, and score 20 by blowing up all their battle line units. That definitely has merit. So, how long have we been talking? Over an hour. Hopefully this has been interesting to see everything compared, at least, because at least from this you sort of know that there are 7 deployment zones. You know, 2 of the existing ones had a bit of change. There's one brand new, like Tetris one. The missions, completely all new, with only hidden supplies maintaining. Chilling Rain crucially is gone, so there's no non-mission mission. Primaries, there's a bit of change here, with 2 sites of power priority targets being deleted. Deploy service goals is now called UXOs, Unexploded Ordnance, and the rest have had a couple of tuning, and there's 2 new ones being Burden of Trust, where you've got a garden objective, and Terraform being an action as well. Secondaries, there has been 2 deleted, being a tempting target and a capture enemy outpost. I didn't mind tempting target, because that was kind of cool, because you could bait your opponent to basically take certain things. You give up 5 points, but then you can force them to position themselves the wrong way. And capture any outpost, is good to see it's gone. You know, it definitely feels that fixed is less, not fixed, but yeah, fixed feels less good, because some, I think the first aspect doesn't score as much, and also tactically it doesn't score as much as well. But definitely there are a few action ones, and yeah, like, look, I'm not super tactical, as I will constantly say. Other channels have said, and again, Art of War is my main reference, because I like their approach. They're quite analytical. Is they feel overall this is a good change. I think killing off things like capturing the outposts is nice. Encouraging battle line units probably is going to shift the way people play, because again, certain armies will just not take battle line because they don't have to, and they just go after all the other, you know, what we used to call elites in the old days, elite units. But now you may have to. But the primary thing for more competitive plays, of course, is the tournament compendium they hopefully release, which gives you an indication of which they suggest to play for tournaments, and or in your local tournament scene, what the tournaments decide to play in their tournament pack. Because having played at quite a few tournaments in the UK now, they typically have like a roster of, you know, 5 to 9 missions, and basically that's all you play. And they basically were previously mostly Chilling Rain, sometimes hidden supplies, and then beyond that I don't actually know. So until we sort of see that, we don't actually know how impactful battle line will be. And that means we don't know how impactful our 4 battle line units will be, which are super cheap, albeit super squishy, how much impact they'll have on the game. And the other final element, as at recording at 11 o'clock on Sunday the 9th of June, we don't have the balance status, like we don't have the new points changes as well, because they said they're going to come. So will they come next week? I don't know, because the pre-release, they go on sale basically Saturday, so maybe the week after next, but I think that's going to be obviously give us a rounded picture of how this impacts Guard. So hopefully interesting, hopefully helpful to see it all laid out. As I said, in the description will be the linky to a Disciple of the Omnissiah who's put up this PDF, so you get a bit of a view if you're super keen to see how things will play out. From a casual setting, the overall structure of the game hasn't changed, the details have changed, but certainly if you want to stay sort of fresh, you're going to have to buy the new mission pack and basically chuck the old mission pack in the recycling bin, or make it a doorstop, or add it onto a pile of books, which I use as my computer stand, like all the old rule packs. So let me know what you think. If I made mistakes, tell me. I want to know, because again, I'm not super into the detail, I don't read it that well. And what's your perspective? What do you think about all this change, particularly from an Astra Militarum point of view? So if you enjoyed this video and want to support me, you can do so with a like, comment, or by subscribing. Simply sharing the video with your friends or family, or watching any of my other YouTube videos. I'm a true Astra Militarum variety channel, covering everything from tactics like this, hobby, being painting, kit bashing and assembling, and also lore, with my recent videos being how realistic are certain parts of Astra Militarum story, like the Cadian war gear, the Chimera armoured transport, or the mighty Rogel Dawn. Make sure to check out the other Astra Militarum specialist channels like Morty and Glory, and also Cadian Sergeant Still for their perspective on everything. And massive thanks to my current supporters. Let's get your bayonet sharp, let's go oiled. Faith in the Emperor strong. Patron Platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn. Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten. Tank Commander Mitchell. Lieutenant Burke Nielsen. Lieutenant Smith. Colour Sergeant DuPont. Sergeant Adal. Scott. The Colonel Merrill. Veteran Gibson. Hall. Lundeen. Guardsman Beard. Coquelin. Flint. Hills. Malik. Nitton. Nguyen. Tom. Tompkin. Conscript de Paz. England. Evan Gunn. Gillian. Goodwin. King.